Let's bring Anam up. How you doing, Anam?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Hold on, I can put you on the big screen too. There you go.
Nice to see you again, brother Sam and Jay. My first time meeting you, but I saw you did a debate with Corrigian, the Sedevacantist. You did an amazing job, I thought, Jay.
Oh yeah, that was about 5 years ago. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh really?
Are you the one that has been with David Wood and Posse Prophet?
No, I spoke to David Wood once, but I'm the Trinitarian Muslim, so we had a nice talk. And then you came on Avery's show.
Yeah. That's I got
you
you
took over
confused.
the debate. So and I'm intimidated because I have both of you. I wasn't expecting Jay, but I'm still a Muslim nominally, even though I've come to realize that I was mistaken in being against the Trinity. I mean, to help Jay, because Jay doesn't know me or about me, I had a religious experience when I was about 22 years old. So I believe, Christ kind of, spoke to me, I guess, without words or without seeing him. Oh. And I realized, ever since I was 14, I would look at the New Testament and I would try to memorize the subordinationist arguments, and I knew all of them. And then one day, I feel like the Holy Spirit just hit me on the head with the 2x4. And that kind of bless you.
So how are you still a Muslim if you're Trinitarian? That's weird.
Yeah, it is. I'll concede to you. I'm definitely a church of one, and I'm not happy about that position. But I would say though, yes, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost.
All right. That's
so, and nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sancti is also a good formula. But and so, but I feel like, I would submit you guys this thesis, just to, not to, because also one of the things is, you guys have a hard job, Avery too. It's you deal with trolls, insincere people, personal attacks, abuse, and, I remember even Jay, he was being picked on for, smoking weed or something by his opponent. So it's so facetious. Nobody wants to talk about the arguments. Yeah. They just want to talk about extraneous stuff. So, but
Jay, pass the ganja, Jay.
So,
I become a Rasta man. He no longer is in the church. Me now in the Jamaican church where we can do what we want, brother.
One thing though, I would, because, and one of the things I like to come on every show is because you guys take so much abuse. I just like to come up and have a different kind of conversation.
Can you give me a hug? Because I need a hug because I've been abused so bad.
We need a safe space.
You had a great discussion with Dr. Khalil Andani, though. I really like that discussion. And by the way, I find myself agreeing with you most of the time, brother Sam. So,
but I do need a hug because that plumber really did a number on me.
So the thing is that, could I submit to you guys maybe a thesis, right? Because I feel like Islam is an offshoot of Christianity. I know all my Muslim brothers would not like me for saying that. And I know we don't want to say that because obviously our first thing is that, we're not derivative, but I feel especially when you look at Orthodox, Christianity and the monastic tradition, monks were so important in the 3rd, 4th, 5th centuries. Saint Isaac of Nineveh, Saint Gregory of Nyssa, the Codex Sinaiticus was written by the monastery at St. Catherine's in the Sinai. So if you didn't have this monastic tradition, people who just gave up the world for Christ, you really wouldn't have that was so important in the first few centuries of Christianity. And it's hard for us to fathom today because, who wants to live in a monastery now? It's not really.
Are you affirming the monastic life?
Yeah, I would love to discern it.
So you mean 57:27 the Quran where it says they invented it.
Yeah, but hold on. It also says though, God will accept it of them.
Okay.
Because of their good intentions.
If they do it rightly, if they do it correctly, but that's what I'm saying.
It doesn't condemn them for being celibate, by the way, even though God never told them to be celibate.
What are you selling?
What am I selling?
Because you said you celibate. What are you selling?
No, celibate means no sex.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a little under the weather. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah. So so the thing is that I would like to suggest to you guys. I'd like to suggest to you guys, that Islam was deeply influenced by these Christian monastics. And in fact, even yesterday, Avery was talking about the story of Alexander arriving at the setting of the sun in the muddy spring. And that comes from an Aramaic tradition of where Alexander finds the sun setting in the spring, of muddy water. So I feel like, this.
Brother, before you move on, you really confuse me because you're an amazing different. So you're admitting Dhul Qarnayn is Alexander the Great?
Yeah, I don't see who else it could be.
Dude, you're not a Muslim anymore, so why don't you just give it up?
I know Avery's trying to tell me the same thing. You're
not a Muslim because you're admitting to everyone in chapter 18, read 83 to 98, Dhul Qarnayn, the two-horned one, is Alexander. And yet all the evidence we have is that Alexander was not a believer, in spite of what later legends say. And the Quran says that he was a believer who followed Allah. But historically, that's not the case, right?
Yeah, I mean, historically, he probably wasn't.
So then you're saying the Quran is wrong. So how are you following the Quran?
Like I said, that is okay. You do have me nailed there, Brother Sam. I would just say this, right? Like, I think he was kind of like a pluralist king, and maybe he might have had like a monotheistic ethic. I don't know. But he was marrying Persian wives out of like practicality. You had to marry, he had the largest landmass empire the world ever had.
But Anam, it's over. Repeat after me, man. Ashadu.
Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, you know what? Actually, so if you want to go, okay, I don't want to go. If you want to, if that's a discussion, Life was having me repeat after him too, right? But right. But the thing is, though, I don't want to have that discussion about how you enter Christianity, right? Because in other words, with all due respect, right? My religion's the one that you enter faith upon giving testimony as witness. Your religion, especially in the 7th century, the way you enter the faith is through baptism of water. So,
yeah, but if you're a convert, it's not either or, because if you read Romans 10, 9 to 13, and Romans 6, 3 to 6, and Acts 22, 16, in your act of baptism, there has to be a confession. There is a confession that you confess with your mouth Jesus Lord and call upon his name. That's done at baptism. If you look at Acts 22, 16, with Paul's own conversion, which he mentions Romans 6, 3 to 6, and Romans 10, 9 to 13. So in your act of baptism, you have to make that confession. Because you're a convert, you're not an infant. We're not baptizing as an infant.
Yeah. I have.
So what's stopping you?
Well, could I feel like, okay, what's stopping me is, I was telling this to Avery yesterday. Actually, so I grew up in a Muslim family, Muslim culture, Muslim tradition. I liked most of it, right? It gave me my morality, and not for nothing, right? Islam actually teaches you to study the other religions, right? To read those holy books and to analyze them and to in other words, Islam gave me, even though, like I said, I was combative against Christianity in my teenage years, and then later I came to realize that I was wrong in my criticism, and that I thought the New Testament was a jumble of contradictions, but when you read it with faith, you see that it's a cohesive whole. It's telling you, the Gospels paint an image, a stereo image of the Christ. So it's very valuable to read those works. But I would say, though, okay, so growing up Muslim, I feel like this is where I'm at right now, right? Islam started as a Christian movement composed of mostly monastics, monks, monk types, people who were just borrowing from monasteries, which are the culture centers of literacy back then. And then it eventually morphed into this combative relationship with Christianity. But it used to be somewhat conciliatory or conciliatory even. And then later you have this antagonism. So I feel like I'm part of I feel like original Islam would have been adjacent to Christianity. And for example, when you bring up the argument.
Well, let me interject real quickly. If you're going by the earliest evidence, and Jay is the expert in this area, but John of Damascus, John the Damascene, 8th century, 700s, writing in Syria, says that Muhammad was actually preaching Arianism, that there was a monk who was of the persuasion of Arianism, taught what Arius taught, and that's what Islam is. So he agrees that it's a sect of Islam, but it's Arian, but you're Trinitarian.
Hey Sam, after this point, we're gonna move on to the next guest, okay? So
But let me
again,
just if you're a Trinitarian Muslim, you're not even faithful to the type of Islam that Islam claimed to be. In other words, if I go by John of Damascus, Islam is an Arian sect. So you would not be a Trinitarian, you'd be an Arian. But you're not an Arian, you're a Trinitarian. So historically, you're out of Islam no matter how you slice it.
One thing I'll add to, just to back up Sam's point, is that a lot of people for a long time had contentions with that claim of St. John Damascus that it was Arian and Nestorian monastics that influenced early Islam. But the present day Oxford Handbook of Islam, the whole chapter on early Islam in that book actually vindicates John Damascus. And today's scholars admit that it was early Arian Nestorian Christianity that influenced Muhammad.
And to confirm further, a little further, there is a statement in the Hadith where when Muhammad is supposedly writing to Heraclius, I say supposedly, he then says if he doesn't accept his conditions, then the guilt of the Arasiyin will fall on you. That's the word, Arasiyin. There are scholars like Ibn Yasir Qadi who claim that Arasiyin means what was done to the followers of Arius because of Byzantine Christianity. That judgment will fall on you. So if we go with that statement, that means Muhammad thought he was defending the followers of Arius.
Very interesting.
So you got it, buddy. You're Trinitarian.
I read in a that's a valid point. But I would just, the only thing I would say, and then Avery wants to move on to the next guest. I want to be respectful to my host. St. John of Damascus, his work was called The Heresy of the Ishmaelites. So that is the thesis that I'm proposing, that this is an Ishmaelite heresy, rather than
you're a Trinitarian.
Right. But
faithful to historic Islam.
I got you. Beautiful talking to you guys. Nice meeting you, Brother Jay. Have a great evening.
See you later, Nam. Peace. Good to see you again, man.
Wow. I'm baffled, dude. But hey, man, hopefully he'll get baptized soon. Let's see. We'll see. I don't know.
We'll see.
Trinitarian Muslim. Okay.
The Trinitarian Muslim. That's right.